There's a moment when people realize you're still standing. That's when everything changes. See, when life knocked you down, when the job disappeared, when the relationship ended, when the money ran out, when people walked away, everyone expected a certain outcome. The script was written. You were supposed to stay down, broken, defeated. Maybe find some corner to hide in, nurse your wounds forever, become another cautionary tale people whisper about at dinner parties. But something happened that nobody planned for. You got back up, not immediately maybe, not gracefully, but you rose anyway, and that single act of defiance rewrote everything about how people see you now. The psychology here is simple but profound. Society functions on predictable patterns. When someone experiences trauma or failure, there's an expected trajectory: initial shock, prolonged suffering, eventual acceptance of a diminished life. This prediction isn't malicious, it's just pattern recognition. Most people do follow this path because it's easier than the alternative. Fighting back requires energy most don't have. But when you break that pattern, when you refuse to accept the narrative written for you, you become something dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent sense. Dangerous because you're proof that the system isn't absolute. You're evidence that circumstances don't have the final word. And nothing threatens established order quite like living proof that the rules can be broken. Here's what happens next, and this is where it gets interesting. The same people who offered sympathy when you were down will now feel uncomfortable with your resurrection. Their pity was comfortable. Pity keeps everyone in their proper place. Them above, you below. But your recovery disrupts this arrangement. Suddenly you're not the victim they can feel superior to. You are a mirror reflecting their own unused potential, their own surrendered dreams, their own comfortable excuses. Carl Jung called this projection. We hate in others what we've denied in ourselves. Your strength becomes an accusation they never asked for, a question they don't want to answer. If you could do it, why couldn't they? The hardship of losing everything has a peculiar gift hidden inside it. When you have nothing left to lose, fear loses its power over you. Think about it. What are you afraid of now? Failure. Already experienced it. Judgment. Already been judged. Rejection. Already rejected. Starting over. You're literally doing it right now. Rock bottom is actually the most liberating place in the world because the only direction available is up, and nobody can threaten you with losses you've already survived. This is your advantage. This is why you become a threat. People still carrying their fragile lives like expensive china can't understand someone who's already been shattered and reassembled. You're playing a completely different game now. Let's talk about what to do with this power, because sitting on potential is just another form of burial. First, understand that your survival has already proven something crucial. You're more durable than your circumstances. That breakup that was supposed to destroy you didn't. That financial collapse that should have ended you didn't. That betrayal, that loss, that failure, none of it finished the job. You're the data point that proves resilience isn't about avoiding damage. It's about continuing despite it. Write this down somewhere visible. I am evidence that rock bottom has a foundation. Use this knowledge like fuel. Every morning you wake up still fighting is another day the prophecy of your failure was wrong. Second, stop explaining yourself to people who are invested in your defeat. There's a certain type of person who needs your story to end badly. Maybe they warned you not to try. Maybe they secretly enjoyed feeling superior to your struggles. Maybe your success means they have to confront their own stagnation. These people will disguise their sabotage as concern. Are you sure you should be doing this? Don't you think it's too soon? I just don't want to see you get hurt again. Translation: your healing is inconvenient to my narrative. The healthy response isn't anger, it's distance. Protect your comeback like the precious thing it is. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your resurrection. Some people earned their exile during your darkest hours. Let them stay there. Third, understand the difference between surviving and living. Survival is holding on. Living is building something new. Right now, you're at the transition point. You've proven you can endure, can take the hits, can weather the storms. Excellent. Now comes the harder part. What will you create with this hard-won strength? The temptation is to simply not hurt anymore, to find some safe, numb equilibrium and camp there forever. But that's a waste of expensive education. Pain is the most costly tutor in existence. Make sure you're getting your money's worth. What did the hardship teach you? Who did you become in the furnace? That person has capabilities the old version never developed. Stop trying to return to who you were before everything fell apart. That person wasn't strong enough for what's coming. This new version is. Here's the psychological trick. Nobody tells you about transformation. The brain fights it constantly. Your neural pathways were carved by your old life, your old identity, your old patterns. Even when those patterns were destructive, they were familiar. The brain loves familiar, hates uncertain. So every time you try something new, build something different, become someone stronger, your own mind will scream warnings. It'll feel like anxiety, like dread, like a premonition of doom. This isn't intuition. This is just your brain trying to drag you back to known territory, even if that territory was a prison. Recognize this resistance for what it is, not evidence that you're on the wrong path, but evidence that you're on an unfamiliar one. Discomfort is the price of evolution. Pay it willingly. The people who dismissed you are conducting surveillance now. They're watching, waiting for the collapse they still expect. Let them watch. Their attention is actually useful. It's accountability. Every doubt they expressed, every prediction of your failure, every moment they counted you out becomes fuel. Not in some bitter, revenge-driven way. Revenge is exhausting and keeps you tethered to the past. I'm talking about something cleaner, using their disbelief as a benchmark for how far you've come. Make a private list if you need to. Not to hurt them later, but to remind yourself on difficult days that you've already proven the doubters wrong simply by still existing, still trying, still building. Success isn't about making them regret their judgment. It's about making their judgment irrelevant. The world drowns in a sea of almost stories, tales that begin with promise and end in surrender. Walk through any city, any town, any forgotten corner where people gather, and the air thick with abandoned dreams practically suffocates hope before it can take root. Listen closely to the conversations happening in coffee shops, in office break rooms, in bars after the sun sets, and tongues loosing with alcohol and regret. The same script plays on repeat. I wanted to, but I tried once, but I would have, but the human condition has become an extended exercise in qualified defeat, a masterclass in creative excuse making, an art form dedicated to explaining why circumstances won the war before the first battle even commenced. Every abandoned business plan, every shelved manuscript, every relationship that dissolved into comfortable misery, every passion that withered into weekend hobbies, adds another voice to this choir of capitulation. The symphony of surrender plays everywhere. Constant background noise that most people stop hearing because recognizing it would mean acknowledging their own contribution to the melody. But here stands the uncomfortable truth that needs voicing. The world does not need more evidence that failure happens. That particular data set reached statistical significance millennia ago. Ancient texts overflow with cautionary tales, warning parables, tragic heroes brought low by fate or flaw or cosmic indifference. Modern media manufactures new disasters every hour, streaming endless content that documents humanity's spectacular ability to snatch defeat from victory's jaws. Social media platforms transformed into monuments to comparison and inadequacy. Digital galleries where people curate their disappointments and display their wounds like badges, proving they too understand suffering. The collective consciousness absorbed this lesson completely. Failure exists. Hardship happens. Dreams die. The universe remains indifferent to human aspiration. Message received, understood, internalized so deeply it became the default setting for how most people approach existence itself. What remains desperately scarce? What the human spirit craves like oxygen? What could actually shift the trajectory of individual lives, and maybe even collective destiny, is the opposite evidence. Not theory about possibility. Not inspirational quotes divorced from reality. Not the sanitized success stories of people born 3 steps from the finish line who claim their victory resulted solely from positive thinking and morning routines. The world needs raw, undeniable proof that someone took genuine damage, sustained real losses, hit actual bottom where the impact shattered bones and crushed hope, and then somehow clawed their way back into the light. Not through luck, not through privilege, not through some hidden advantage that negates the lesson. Through sheer bloody-minded refusal to accept the verdict circumstances handed down. This kind of evidence changes everything, because it cannot be dismissed, cannot be explained away, cannot be reduced to feel good platitudes that dissolve under the first real pressure. Living as this evidence requires understanding a fundamental shift in purpose and identity. The decision to survive and then thrive after genuine catastrophe transforms someone from participant in the human drama into proof of concept for resilience itself. This carries weight and responsibility that most people never shoulder because most people never had to consider it. When someone watches their world burn, when the foundations crumble and the future evaporates, and the present becomes pure endurance, a choice emerges from the ashes. The choice looks simple on its surface, give up or continue, but simplicity conceals depth. Giving up offers immediate relief from struggle, permission to stop fighting, acceptance into the vast community of people who tried and fell and stayed down. Society actually rewards this choice with sympathy, with understanding, with no further expectations. Nobody blames the defeated for their defeat. The standards drop to nothing. Comfort arrives in the form of low expectations and zero pressure. Continuing, though, actually getting up after being knocked down hard enough that staying down seemed not just reasonable, but inevitable. That path offers no such comfort. Getting up means choosing pain over numbness, uncertainty over the known quantity of defeat, the terrifying possibility of failing again over the safety of having already failed. The brain rebels against this choice with every chemical weapon in its arsenal. Fear floods the system. Doubt paralyzes decision-making. The inner voice that should encourage instead recites every past failure, every weakness, every reason this effort will end in humiliation and fresh wounds. Evolution designed humans to avoid pain, to seek safety, to value survival over growth. Fighting against millions of years of programming requires conscious, daily exhausting effort. Nobody stumbles into this choice accidentally. Nobody maintains it through casual commitment. This becomes an identity, a mission, a purpose that supersedes comfort. The villain-like essence in this approach comes from the willingness to prioritize personal transformation over social comfort. Villains in stories share one consistent trait: they refuse to accept the world as given. Heroes generally defend existing order, protect established systems, fight to restore what was. Villains burn it down when it fails them. Living as evidence of victory possible requires this same rejection of accepted limits. When the world says recovery takes years, speed it up out of pure spite. When experts declare certain losses permanent, prove them wrong through action they claimed impossible. When well-meaning people advise acceptance and moving on, refuse both, and instead transform the wound into a weapon. This does not mean becoming cruel or destructive toward others. It means becoming ruthless with limitations, merciless toward excuses, uncompromising in the pursuit of becoming someone the old self could not recognize or comprehend. Heroes inspire through nobility. Villains inspire through sheer force of will that bends reality to match vision, rather than accepting reality as immutable truth.